Now everyone, we're going to be fitting the arms with the polyurethane bushes to the rear axle in this video. This is how I do it. There is an argument that says that you should really fit all the arms loosely and then move your car backwards and forwards just to get them settled into the position that they'll be running naturally in. As far as I'm concerned, as long as you fit one arm at a time so that it's all locked out and in the position essentially it's going to be in when it's running, it shouldn't be an issue. So this is just how I do it. Some people might say it's the wrong way, but I've never had any issues. So anyway, let's get to it. So I've got my gear ready. Obviously I've got to do one of the lower control arms and the Panhard arms still, and I've got to fit a bush to this one here, or a collar. I've got a load of these turned up at work, so that's that sorted. So I'm just going to start by stripping out. I apologise for the weather; it's a bit windy. Just going to strip out the Panhard arm, which is just them two bolts, which are 19s. I'll do that one first. Fit the bushes to it, and then I'll run you through just one side because they're both the same. So if you do that side, then you can do that side as well. So the 6 and 2/3, and then I've got some bushes for the dampers as well, polyurethane bushes. They're aftermarket dampers, them the Monroes. It came with it, so I was quite chuffed about that. And then that'll be it. Quite a simple job to do. It's just unbolt and bolt back on, really. So yeah, let's get cracking. Just taking this right-hand bolt out of this Panhard arm, and I don't know if you can see that, but the bolt is going to hit the spring. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jack it up, take the ramp out, and then just lower it down slowly, just until I can get that bolt out, and then I'll reinstate the ramp afterwards. So we've got our Panhard arm off. I've got new bushes fitted. What we need to do now is just give it a good wire brush out where the arm fits. Why not, Lizzie? You want this face to be really nice and smooth and clean. No dirt or rust or anything. Right, I'm just going to put a bit of rubber grease and literally just like a fine film on there. You don't want too much because you don't want it to accumulate dirt and grit, which will deteriorate your rubber bush. So literally a really thin film, just to make it a bit slippier. Just put it on the faces that the bush sits on. We're going to get our arm. Slide it in. This time the bolt's going to go from this side to the spring. Plenty of copper grease on your bolts. Then you've got a spring washer and a nut. Just put it on loosely for now. So our holes aren't quite lining up. You can see that. So what I'm going to do is use what's called a podgy bar. You can get away with a screwdriver if you don't have a podgy bar. But just put a podgy bar in there, square it up. Sometimes what you have to do is you have to keep the podgy bar in there. We might end up doing that. And then feed the bolt in from the back side. Again, plenty of copper grease. What we don't want, what we're aiming for is to not have that issue of the bush seizing to this bolt in future. Copper grease on. And then tying her up. Always tighten bolts up from the nut side. Less resistance, makes it a bit easier for you. That's it. That's our Panhard arm done. Spot on. Right, so we're going to do our lower trailing arm first. What we've got to do is we've got to disconnect the damper, because to get the bolt out, the bolt slides this way, and obviously we've got this bolt and collar in the way, bolt and bush. So we just got to undo that first, get that out of the way. So every single nut and bolt, wire brush it off. Give it a good scrub, get any heavy dirt off, any rust. And then give it a coating of WD. And then crack it off, just like that. Line it off. What we'll do is sometimes the drift. Put this back in the order that it came out. Took it there. Right. I've already put some WD on these, but we'll put a bit more on. That's an axle stand there. It's a tall one. It's what we use on the Unimogs. I mean, folded down, it's probably about 2 foot tall. And I've just got up to the chassis cross member. If the axle flips out, it'll support it on the chassis. Right, we just crack the bolts off now. Been lucky so far, we haven't had any seized bushes, which is a rarity on any vehicle. Right, take the old arm out. Grab your wire brush. Same again, give it a good clean. again, a light coating of rubber grease. Just where that bush meets the chassis. Not too much. I'm just going to go clean this off on the wire wheel. Plenty of copper grease once again. Lather it. Loads of copper grease again. Spring washer, a little bit more copper grease on there. And then you can use Nylox if you want, if you feel inclined to. It's up to you. I'm just using the hardware from it, seeing as it all seems to be in pretty good nick. I might double knot it at a later date. Nip it up nice and tight. Sometimes what I do as well, if I feel inclined, I just blob a load of copper grease on. To be honest, if it ever gets steam cleaned underneath, copper grease will get washed off anyway from the outside, from the areas that are open to atmosphere. It's time for the short arm. So I've wire brushed these off. Missed that one because I'm good like that. So wire brush these off, and then give them a good coating of WD. And I believe I'll try tightening these. Really do that snappy. Just going to work it backwards and forwards a bit. Try and clean the threads off. Now I've done a bit of winding on it, I'm just going to brush it off again. Try and get any loose material off there. There we go, so you're going now. I get the impression that bolt's seized, that bush is seized on there. No problem though, we'll manage. This out. Yeah, so the bush is, the collar inside the bush is seized on. So I'll do the same as what I did in the front control arm. installation video, and I'll just get the grinder and just grind that off there until it splits, and then it'll slide straight off that collar. Right, so I've got my bolt all cleaned up, nice and clean. You really don't want to snap these because they are metric fine, so unless you got a spare metric fine bolt around, you do not want to be snapping them. So it's bolt, washer, bush, which fits very well indeed, followed by washer, which then slides into place. And then washer nut. Keep it loose for now until you get your next bolt in. Copper grease again. And I'm going to do the same again and wire brush where the bush meets the body, or the axle in this case. Bit of rubber grease. You know, some of the copper grease on that. And then tying them up. Just going to get the breaker bar on this front one there. I can't quite get leverage on it. There we go. Happy days. And that is all the, apart from the other side obviously, that's your upper and lower trailing arms and your Panhard arm done. So I'll just do this, these damper bushes, and that'll be us. Once again, wire brush. WD. we go. Damper off. Right, so I've got the damper off. It's basically the same principle as the trailing arms and the Panhard bar, but it's like the standard polyurethane bushes that you normally come across, where it's two-piece polyurethane bush. The top does have a collar as usual, but it's stuck on there. I've had a gander and it's fine. Is the top collar, so I'm just going to leave it on there. Obviously, if yours is badly corroded, you'll need to replace it, so bear that in mind. And then assembly is just as we've already been doing, but in theory it should be easier on this one. It says in theory, because I believe these should just push straight in. Yes. You can get away a little bit more with slightly more pitting, I suppose you'd call it, on your collars on the dampeners, because they're not under as much load, so you don't need to worry so much about it. But it's still important that they're not badly corroded. Rubber grease again, just rubber greasing everything. The whole assembly. Loads of rubber grease, lather in it. And then what I'll do is I'll assemble this on the car itself. This top bush. Right, so I've got the top bush in place, or one part of the top bush. Just going to slide this assembly in. Put plenty of rubber grease on there. Dab of copper grease just on there. Obviously, again, it's petroleum based, so you don't want to get it on the polyurethane. Snip that up. That collar in there. Copper grease again, plenty of copper grease. Copper grease is your friend. And then your bushing, steel bushing. Push your damper up. Your dampers will probably, unless you've got competition shocks like mine, your dampers will probably compress a lot easier than these. And then you just nip it up. Right, there we have it. Polyurethane bushes all fitted, nice and yellow. You barely even know if you were following it down the road. There's not much in the way of yellow. That's it. That's your yellow bits right there. That's all you see. and a bit there as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. If you liked it, like, follow, subscribe, whatever it is, comment, share. Cheers for now. Bye bye.